Hello everyone, welcome back to our channel Wisdom. Today we are diving into a new topic that's crucial for every taxpayer in India, old or new tax regime. Whether you are a seasoned taxpayer or a new to the game, understanding these regimes can save you money and time both. In this video, we will understand and discuss following major points. First, what is old and new tax regime? Second, tax rate in both the regimes. Third, comparison as which is better, old one or the new one. And lastly, how to switch between the old tax regimes and the new tax regime. Before we jump into the comparison, let's understand what these regimes actually are. The old tax regime offers various deductions and exemptions which can significantly reduce your taxable income. Higher tax rates but a plethora of deductions like 80C, 80D, HRA, etc. It is suitable for those with many investment and expenses that qualify for deductions. On the flip side, the new tax regimes offer lower tax rate but does away with most of the deductions and exemption. It has lower tax rate but minimal deduction. It is ideal for those with fewer deduction or simpler financial situations.
Before understanding which tax regime is better, let us first understand the taxation part of regime. So the taxation part of the regime is explained as below. So under old tax regime, if your tax is up to 2.5 lakhs, no tax is levied. Whereas in new tax regime, the same has been updated in budget 2023 and has been increased up to 3 lakhs in which no tax will be levied. If we see the tax slab rates, so under old tax regime, up to 2.5 lakhs, there is no tax levied. From 2.5 lakhs to 5 lakhs, the tax levied is 5%. From 5 lakhs to 10 lakhs, it's 20%, and beyond 10 lakhs, it's 30%. Now, in new tax regime, up to 3 lakhs, no tax is paid. From 3 to 6 lakhs, it is 5% of tax applicable. From 6 to 9 lakhs, 10% of tax is levied. 9 to 12 lakh, 15% of tax is levied, and 12 to 15%, 20% of tax is levied, and beyond 15 lakhs, 30% tax is applicable. Now, the government in budget 2023 introduced major changes which remain the same even for financial year 24-25. Since no changes were made in the interim budget 2024 to encourage the taxpayers to adopt the new tax regime policy. They are full tax rebate on an income up to rupees 7 lakhs has been introduced. The standard deduction of rupees 50,000, which was available under the old tax regime, has now been extended to new tax regime as well. So in short, this along with the rebate makes 7.5 lakhs as your tax-free income under the new tax regime.
Now we will understand which tax regime is better for you, the old tax regime or the new tax regime. The decision to switch to the new or to the old tax regime or which regime is better shall based on the tax savings and deduction and exemptions you make. To make it easier, let's understand through an example. We will understand this by considering the deductions made by the taxpayer. So firstly, for example, let's consider when the total deductions are less than or equal to 1,50,000. In the taxes as per the old tax regime, we will consider standard deduction of rupees 50,000, other deduction in 80C and 80D as 1,50,000 and rebate on income up to rupees 5 lakh. And while considering the new tax regime, post budget 2023, we are getting standard deduction of 50,000 rupees and rebate on income up to rupees 7 lakh. So till 7 lakhs, both the schemes are better. If any of you choose either old or new, there will be not much any differences on the taxes. But let's consider if you are earning rupees 7,50,000 as a gross total income, then the taxes on your income as per the old tax regime that will be around 22,500 considering all such deductions. While there will be no tax if you choose the new tax regime, if your income is up to rupees 7,50,000. Reason being, you are getting standard deduction and a rebate till 7 lakh. So in this case, the new tax regime is better option. And in such a manner also, if your income is, say for example, is 10 lakh per year gross total income, then as per the old tax regime, your taxes will be around 72,500 on the old regime, and on the new regime it will be around 52,500. So again, In this case also, the new tax regime is a better option. So, even if you are earning 30 lakh and your deductions are not that much higher, and considering these only deduction, your taxes as per the old tax regime will be 6,52,500 and on the new tax regime it will be 5,85,000. That is a difference of a huge number, that is of 67,500. And again in this case the new tax regime is better. But please mark our words that here the deductions are less than or equals to 1,50,000. So in this case, when total deductions are less than or equals to 1,50,000, then you can simply choose the new regime, which is more beneficial to you.
So now let us take another example. When the total deductions are between 1.5 lakhs to 3.75 lakhs. So here under old tax regime, the deductions assumed are the standard deduction of 50,000, then deductions under section 80C and 80D, and one more is assumed, that is rebate of income up to rupees 5 lakhs. So here when we assume the new tax regime, the deductions assumed are standard deduction of rupees 50,000 and rebate of income up to rupees 7 lakhs. Now let us assume that the gross total income is around 8 lakhs. So the tax calculated as per old tax regime here in this case will be 32,500 and as per new tax regime it will be 40,000. So the difference of 7,500 is coming here. In this case, the old tax regime will be a better option for you. Now let us assume that the gross total income here in this case is 15 lakhs. So tax as per old tax regime here will be 1,72,500 and the tax as per new tax regime will be 1,40,000. So the difference here will be 32,500. So in this case, when your gross total income is rupees 15 lakhs, the new tax regime will be a better option for you. Further here you can see more calculations on the screen and identify as to which tax regime is better for you.
Now take the last example when total deductions are more than 3.75 lakhs. We have seen the deduction of less than 1,50,000, between 1,50,000 to 3.75 lakhs. Now lastly we'll consider that if your deductions are more than the higher level, that is 3.75 lakhs. Here in the old tax regime we are considering a standard deduction of 50,000. Other deductions as in like 80C, 80D, NPS, home loan interest that is available up to 2 lakh, etc. And we are summing it up and considering is at 3,80,000 in total. And post budget in new tax regime, we are considering standard deduction of 50,000 and rebate on income up to rupees 7 lakh in the new tax regime. So for example, if you are earning a salary of gross total income that is of 9 lakh, then on the old tax regime there will be no tax applicable and there will be zero tax on your taxable income. In the same case, if you consider it a new tax regime, then there will be a huge amount of tax of 40,000 rupees. So in this case, you should definitely consider the old tax. As we discussed earlier, the more the deduction, the old tax regime is much better option. Again, the higher you goes, the deduction you have increased in that manner only, and accordingly the old tax regime is a better option. Say for example, if your gross total income is of rupees 15 lakh, then on the old tax, as per the old tax regime, the tax levied will be 1,33,500, and on the new as per the new tax regime, the taxes will be 1,40,000. Though the difference is of 6,500 only, but the old tax regime has better option as there is a saving in this. Therefore, when total deductions are more than 3.75 lakhs, the old tax regime come out to be more beneficial. And do remember that from this year onwards, the new tax regime will be a default option. So you need to first decide which scheme is better for you, the old one or the new one.
Now let us understand the last part of the video as to who can switch and how to switch between the old tax regime and new tax regime. For salaried individual, if you are salaried individual, you have flexibility to choose between the regime each year. You can make the choices at the time of filing of ITR. Just select the preferred regime in the form and you are done.
For business owners, however, need to be cautious as the switch is allowed only once and reverting back has restrictions. You will need to submit Form 10IE before making the switch. Remember, this decision is more permanent, so tax regimes is not just about the numbers and not one size fit all. You need to consider your financial goals, investment plans, and future expenses, and to assess your deductions before finalizing one.
If you found this video useful, please give a thumbs up and subscribe for more content. Any question? Leave them in the comments below and we'll get back to you. Thanks for watching and don't forget to check out all our other videos on financial plannings and tax saving tips. Thank you.